Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive from downtown Chicago. Today we're going inside the headlines of one of the biggest pet food recalls in U.S. history and see how Wexler Wallace recovered $24 million in a historic settlement. Stay tuned. I want to welcome you, Ken, to the show.
Welcome to Chicago.
Welcome, Ed. You guys are primarily plaintiff lawyers, aren't you? You fight for the little guy.
Yes, we do.
That's absolutely right.
This particular case, this pet food recall was Menu Foods. Can you tell our audience a little bit about, what went on behind the scenes here? What actually happened?
Well, Menu Foods was just one of the defendants in the case, but the pet food recall started in March of 2007. It related to contaminated dry pet food. It was pet food manufactured mostly by Menu Foods, although there were other manufacturers like Del Monte and Procter & Gamble who used the contaminated ingredient.
And that contaminated ingredient came from China, though, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was wheat gluten and rice soy protein.
Was melamine, was that the contaminated
Yeah, the
ingredient?
contaminant was melamine, which it's been well documented now is used in many Chinese products to boost give a fake boost to the protein content of a food item.
So when you say give a fake boost to the protein element, why were they doing this in the first place?
Well, in order to demonstrate that the wheat gluten and rice protein that they were sending here to the United States to be used in the manufacture of the pet food had a high enough protein content to be purchased by the manufacturers here.
And these manufacturers here, like Del Monte, right? Did they do independent testing when they received this ingredient?
Well, this was one of the interesting aspects of the case. It was an ingredient, melamine, that the manufacturers here will tell you they didn't test for because they had no expectation that it would be in the wheat gluten or rice protein.
There's the issue of emotional distress that got brought up because many of these pets were members of, people's families. I understand there's 2 states in the United States that allow for some sort of compensation for emotional distress when you lose a pet. What are those states?
Well, Tennessee does. There's a specific statute that allows up to a $5,000 recovery. Illinois also permits recovery for emotional distress. But in virtually all the other states, and again, this was an issue that we faced, while we pled, people suffered. And you will hear from Tracy that she suffered tremendously because pets are family members.
Sure they are.
Anybody who has one will tell you that. Those who don't necessarily understand that.
Yeah.
But in most states, all but 2, pets are treated as personal property. So if you have a 12-year-old dog who spent 12 years of his or her life with you, and it dies because of someone's negligence, it's treated as a 12-year-old chair.
Right.
What's it worth? If it was 12 years old, it was old. And the law is very cruel in that way.
Speaking of emotional distress, we happen to have with us today Tracy, whose dog, Sahara, passed away. And we're going to bring her in a moment here so she can tell us, in a first-hand, personal viewpoint about what it was like to watch her animal pass away. So let's go to her right now. I want to thank you very much for coming here, Tracy.
Thank you.
I understand that you came all the way from West Virginia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you had a wonderful dog named Sahara,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You brought with us some video of you and Sahara, and I want to go to that right now.
Merry Christmas. Wait, eat this whole bag up.
I can see you were very close to your dog. How long was your dog a member of your family?
10 years.
10 years?
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about how this whole thing developed.
I just started noticing difference in her behavior and
You were buying what type of food?
Food Lion brand and Kroger
Okay.
brand food, depending on what store I would be at the time. And hair loss, for one, was one of the first things I started noticing, and an oily substance was on her fur. And from that, then you started noticing shakiness, like the nervous system wasn't acting right on her.
Yeah.
And then from that, it went to where she couldn't stand very well at all because of the nervous disorder. Then from that, it went to probably not being able to hold a urine.
What kind of time frame did this occur over?
It took 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So 3 weeks from the date that you started feeding her this food, this
No, I fed her
contaminated
this
thing.
food for a while, but it took 3 weeks for the sickness to start.
What
She
do you
got sick.
feel most bad about this whole thing?
That I was the one that was putting the food in the bowl.
And you didn't know anything about it?
And I hope she doesn't think that I'm the one who did it to her.
Mm-hmm. And what happened towards the end? Did you have to put Sahara asleep?
Yeah.
Because she couldn't move at all?
No. She, even human touch hurt her at the end. I tried to pet her to comfort her, and she'd yipe about it. So even the human touch wasn't good at the end.
Mm-hmm. Tracy, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come here, because you send a message to every person that has a pet, how important they are and how important lawyers like Ken and his firm are that help folks like you. As a result of this settlement, as a result of the awareness of not only this show, but also the awareness by the public that things can go wrong and that people should be held, companies should be held responsible, how do you see the pet food industry changing now?
Well, I think you're seeing the pet food industry as well as the human food industry changing, because we've seen lots of problems emanating from China and imported ingredients. And like I say, this settlement requires the defendants to, or the manufacturing defendants, to test for these contaminants, which they didn't before.
And I think you're seeing consumers wake up to the fact that, for example, our latest peanut butter calamity,
Yes.
that even American companies sometimes put profits over their own consumers. So as a father of children, I want to make sure that when I reach in that pantry in the morning for the peanut butter, that to prepare that peanut butter toast for breakfast, that it's safe. And I think this case and others like it, unfortunately, have to draw attention to what is sometimes very irresponsible corporate behavior.
Would you hand out your website, please?
It's www.wexlerwallace.com. That's WEXLERWALLACE.com.
Okay, and the best phone number to get a hold of you folks?
312-346-2222.
I want to thank both of you for being on the show.
Real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
We're going to have you back again. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guests and our shows at insiderexclusive.tv. I'm Steve Murphy. Stay warm.